I remember when we were younger, we had there was things like flip phones. We had things like those, Blackberries. We had those phones that like you had to type and you had to click the same number multiple times to get a letter, and then click the same number again and get another letter. And then our parents before us, they had like those actual crank phones, like the manual phones and things like that. And technology has evolved and evolved and evolved, and now we have the cell phone, right? Something that came out, and, I don't think it necessarily came out with a ill intention, right? It was a cell phone. And, back in the day, Steve Jobs and Apple, they invented the iPhone, right? And it was awesome. It was the newest thing, and it was great. And now it's in your pocket every day. It's on your desk. It's by your bed, and it's in your hand when you're supposed to be working, reading, or even just resting. And your smartphone at one point was used to maybe play some apps, maybe play Angry Birds, stuff like that, maybe call someone. But now now it's used for Google Maps. So you have to use it to know where to go. Now it's used for banking. Your paychecks get deposited directly onto your phone, and they're just numbers on a screen. You're constantly getting notifications from things like Snapchat, if you have that, or text messages, Instagram, TikTok, all these different things. And now it's gotten to a point where there's so much noise, so much notifications, and all this stuff constantly being flooded to you. And the smartphone can be the most powerful tool you've ever owned, but also could be the very thing that's slowly draining your potential, right? So ask yourself, is your phone helping you build the life you want, or is it anchoring you to the one you're trying to escape from? Let's talk about it. Even myself, in my personal life, I've noticed this where, growing up, I definitely played like video games more than I watched TV. I was never a huge TV watcher. I actually did a lot of stuff outside too. Like I played sports. I played, basketball, baseball, football. Also did like, a lot of weight training and even some powerlifting, stuff like that. But normally when I had some downtime and I was just chilling, it was normally playing video games, COD, Halo, a lot of single player games too. But in the rare occasions that I did watch like movies or TV, it was mainly superhero related. Batman's definitely my favorite superhero, and obviously is the GOAT. I mean, no questions asked. Anyways, but I would watch TV sometimes or movies sometimes, right? Or shows, things like that. But back then, I could sit down and actually watch like a show and like not look at my phone. Now, like I said, I'd love to hear what you guys think. But now when I sit down to watch a movie or a show, like I'm like looking at my phone a good amount. And I don't even like admitting that. It's not something that I'm like necessarily proud of, but I myself have gotten a lot more intentional with how I use my phone. So this seems a little bit extreme, but one thing that I do basically is I still use, so a lot of people use things like Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all these things. The only two stuff that I actually use a lot is I use Instagram still. I am connected with most of my friends on there and we'll send each other reels, but I don't actually keep Instagram on my phone. So I know this sounds extreme, but I'll actually delete Instagram off my phone. And then when I want to go on it, which is at most once a day now, sometimes it's once every few days, like I've actually gotten a lot better and more intentional with it. I'll just reinstall it real quick. It automatically logs you right back in. I don't even have to put in my password. And then I'll just kind of like look at it through all the DMs from my friends or maybe my girl or whatever, and then like send some stuff back. And then whenever I'm done with it, I'll shut the app and delete it again. And like I said, I know that sounds extreme, but I've got a lot more intentional with how I use my phone because I am just so sick of that thing owning me. I'm sick of looking down at it. I'm sick of feeling like I have to constantly check it. I mean, it got to the point where it was so bad where, have you guys ever been like cooking or like just doing something around the house and you think that your phone just vibrated like you got a text and you pull it out and not a single fucking person texted you? Like that has happened to me before, where like literally my brain thinks that I got a notification when I didn't. That's how I knew I was cooked. Like when that happened to me, like at one point I was like, all right, I'm cooked. Like I need to really change my habit here. And I think that the phone was invented to be a useful tool. It was invented to keep in touch with your friends and all this type of stuff. But it got to the point now where I would argue that more negative comes out of that phone than positive. I mean, even just stuff from like a men and women perspective. Like you go on Instagram, even if you don't follow like these Insta models and stuff like that, because I don't. And by the way, if you do, you should unfollow all that stuff. It's really stupid and not worth your time. But that stuff will still pop up on your feed every now and then. Even if you click uninterested in it, it'll still pop up. You go on Snapchat, that stuff pops up on like on the stories. It's like, so many guys are just sitting there doom scrolling, right? Like they get up in the morning, they roll over. Before you even get out of bed, you go on your phone. And trust me, I've done this so many times, so I'm not trying to act like I don't. But one thing that I've done as of, I would say probably the last 6 months, so I bought something called a Hatch alarm clock. It's basically an alarm clock that wakes you up via sound and light, so it's not actually your phone. So what I'll do is, like, when I go to bed, I actually keep my phone in the other room. Like, when I'm done, like, when I for sure, like, am done using it, I'll put my phone charging in the other room, and then I'll go to bed, and then that Hatch alarm clock will wake me up. And this has helped because it forces me to actually get out of bed before I touch my phone. And I've noticed this helps a lot with just getting a good start to your day, because people always say, like, first impressions mean a lot or mean everything. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, the first impression you give yourself to the day, the way you start your day is very important, right? You should be starting your day on a good foot, not starting off doom scrolling for an hour. And I think, the whole purpose of this video is, like I said, that tool versus anchor, right? A tool helps you build, create, move forward, while an anchor, mainly used on large scale boats, right, holds you in one place, drags you down, or stops your momentum. So your phone becomes a tool when it's used with purpose, clarity, and a clear direction, but it does, and it can become an anchor when it controls your time, focus, and your doom scrolling all day. And quite frankly, like, a lot of people's dopamine receptors are cooked at this point, where you're constantly going on social media, you're endless scrolling, notifications rewire your brain, and you're constantly stimulated, but you're rarely satisfied. Like, don't get me wrong, I Instagram reels and funny videos, like, it's great to look at them every now and then, and you do get dopamine from it, but it's just a never ending loop, right? It's like the algorithm is literally designed to want to keep you going, and the result is low attention span, brain fog, and overall procrastination. And the whole idea of your phone being a tool versus an anchor, it's really just a conversation of whether you're going to let your phone be a time thief or a time multiplier, right? So you can use tools like calendar apps or note-taking, or, using it for like things like even YouTube to learn high-income skills, or using it for things like LinkedIn or even other platforms to network with intention. Or you could use it as an anchor and waste 3 to 6 hours a day on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter and all these different things, just scrolling, looking at the random news articles, looking at random crimes, random funny videos. Like I said, I think there's a place and time for that type of stuff, but not to the point where you're actually anchoring yourself in your own life path. I actually saw something the other day that the average person spends over like 4 hours a day on their phone. And that's quick mental math in my head. That's that's literally like 50 full days out of the year. It's a good amount of time. It's not like it's only one day or something. And quite frankly, when I saw that, like, average 4 days or 4 hours a day on their phone, I even think it's higher than that, for a lot of people especially. But the one dangerous thing about the phone too is not only have I noticed that it can steal your time, right? It can steal those precious hours of your day, but it also can give you a false sense of connection versus actual genuine real world purpose. So phones stimulate friendship, right? There's love, there's validation. That people go on dating apps, they're scrolling forever, they're swiping, and they're just looking at people, they see a picture of them and they're swiping, all this stuff. And it's not ever giving you the real thing. You chase likes and messages and DMs instead of impact and actually mastering a skill set or mastering what you want out of your life. And you guys have to ask yourselves, are you consuming more than you're creating? Right? One thing that I'm trying to do for myself is, it's kind of like the whole alcohol argument, right? Like people will say you shouldn't drink alcohol. I'm like, I agree with them, objectively. Objectively speaking, alcohol is not good for you. However, at the same time, if you are going to the gym regularly, if you're taking care of your body, you're doing what you have to do, and you want to grab a couple beers, one time every now and then, or a couple times a month, or whatever it may be, like, I don't necessarily see a problem with it as long as you're making sure you get the other stuff in your life done. It's the same thing with the phone and consuming content, right? There's nothing wrong with going on YouTube, watching stuff. Matter of fact, I'd encourage you guys to watch this because, this whole channel is about helping us all level up in life, right? But at the end of the day, like, you shouldn't spend your whole time like watching only videos or watching reels or watching, stuff on TikTok and all these different things. You need to also be creating, right? Like, even if it's not necessarily just YouTube, like creating something, whether that's like even just journaling or whether that's, posting on whatever platform or networking with people or making real connections in real life is what you guys need to be doing. And you guys need to reclaim your phone as a tool. So one thing that I have done, I'm notorious for this. All my friends know this, but I'm notorious for keeping my phone on night mode. So if you try to call my cell phone, it will not go through. If you call it twice though, I have it set where if someone calls it twice in a row, it will go through. But just keeping my phone on night mode has helped me a lot from filtering out a bunch of spam callers calling me about my car's extended warranty, and as well just a bunch of random notifications from group chats that I don't want to be in and all this type of stuff. I would recommend either doing that or at the very minimum delete your apps or delete maybe the top one or two apps that suck your time in, right? Do I think that you have to necessarily get off social media completely? No, but I do think you should be deleting the stuff that's sucking a lot of time from your day and anchoring you down and anchoring, you from reaching the potential or the goal you want to reach. And use screen time limits. I have time limits set on my screens as well for Instagram and things of that nature, and actually obey them, actually adhere to them. And if you have the discipline to do that, I promise you, you will see your phone, starting to be used as a tool more. And at the end of the day, guys, like your phone isn't necessarily the enemy, right? But it is a mirror, right? It is reflective of, your discipline, right? Or it's going to be reflective of your distraction. And the real question that you have to ask yourself is whether it's good or bad, right? Whether you're in control or your phone's in control. There's a very common theme in business where if someone's starting a business and they're an owner operator and they're constantly doing everything from the sales and the marketing and the invoicing and the back end stuff, right? They're not a business owner. Like, the business is owning them. It's the same thing with your phone. Like, are you in control of how you use your phone? Are you using it for a positive manner, or is it controlling you? And is it sucking the time out of you? And are you doom scrolling all day? So what's it going to be, guys, right? Is it going to be a tool to build your dreams, or is it going to be an anchor keeping you stuck in place? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' experience with the cell phone, how it's evolved over time, what you think of it, and what's one app that you should delete today. And I'd encourage you to do that. Or what could you do with an extra 3 hours a day of real focused time, right? If you go to your screen time right now, you're probably spending more time than you think on that phone. And I guess the whole purpose of this video is just to shed some light on that and really just ask yourself, guys, like, are you going to use it as a tool or use it as an anchor, right? So level up strategy out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.